Pisces, welcome to your weekly tarot reading. Let's get started and see what messages we have for Pisces, sun, moon, and rising positions for the week ahead. Keeping in mind that these are general readings and may not resonate for everyone. So make sure to check out your other placements because you may have messages there as well. And if you've been thinking about getting a personal reading, have a look at the description below because I'm extending my promotion to the end of this summer. So if you've been thinking about getting a reading, it's a good time to get one. All right, let's get started for Pisces. What is the current energy around Pisces for the week ahead? Oh boy, look at all of that. Okay, so we've got the King of Pentacles with the Seven of Pentacles, both showing up in the reverse with the Queen of Cups. That's your current energy. Very interesting. So, you know, Pisces, it makes me wonder if there's something that you've been thinking about changing directions on, or that you're just not feeling as committed to something as you once were, and that intuitively you're almost feeling guided towards something else. That's very interesting, actually, as a current energy to come up. These three cards tell an interesting story of maybe not feeling as committed to something that you've been working on, and you're sort of at a place where you're sort of wondering, should I switch gears and do something else entirely? And that it might be related to what you're doing, but slightly different, on a different path. That's very interesting. Let's see what the obstacle is here for you. I'm curious, if that's your current energy, what's the obstacle for Pisces? The Hierophant and the Two of Pentacles. Yeah, so you might be feeling sort of this divine guidance to do something else, and it's causing some indecision because you may like what you're doing now, but not feeling as connected to it as you once were, or feeling like there's something that you need to put all your energy towards. And right now you might be feeling like motivated a little bit by finances to keep doing something that may not feel like it's for you anymore. And the King of Pentacles in reverse can sometimes indicate this sort of overly focused energy on financial gains, which makes me feel like this could involve something that you do for money, some sort of job or career path that just doesn't feel like you want to keep walking down that path anymore. And intuitively it's almost like you're feeling maybe there's something else I should be focused on. And then seeing the Hierophant with the Two of Pentacles as your obstacle says that I think you're almost being redirected towards something. So that may actually be creating an obstacle, but the obstacle may actually be helping you to make the decision. But it feels like the obstacle is the indecision. But seeing the Hierophant there tells me that there is some kind of awakening happening here. There is some kind of divine guidance or redirection happening here. And you're not alone, I guess, is one of the messages I'm picking up on here. And so if you can sort of tune in to that teacher within yourself, that higher self, your intuitive self, that divine connection, I think that will help you sort of make the decision that you need to. Seeing the 7 and the 2, which can be times where making a decision is difficult. You know, making a decision about the path to invest your time, money, and energy into is difficult. And it feels like money is part of this decision for you, Pisces, because it almost feels like switching gears means receiving payment for effort somewhere new, or by doing something new. And that decision seems to be a difficult one to make at this time, or it's causing some indecision and some need for attention right now. And that maybe not just looking at it from a financial point of view would serve you when I see the Hierophant and the Queen of Cups. That solely looking at it from a financial perspective may complicate things even further. Okay, let's see what's top of mind here for Pisces. The Eight of Wands in reverse. In reverse. A very interesting reading. You're doing something right now, Pisces, that your higher self is trying to get you to look at again. from a different perspective, and it almost feels like you're being directed to really have a look at this and to focus your energy on what you feel is the most connected sort of option to yourself right now. You know what I mean? It's funny. It feels like that Eight of Wands in reverse is that unfocused energy because of a lack of direction and the hesitation that comes with making decisions about which way to go with something that's important. And there's a lot of hesitation. And you know, hesitation makes sense to me because when we look at something, especially something that brings in money and security and stability, we tend to take those decisions very carefully because they involve money, stability, and security. We don't want to mess around with our abundance, right? We want to keep the money flowing. And so it feels like there's hesitation on doing something different with how you earn money, and that's creating some confusion for you. Bottom of the deck is the Ace of Pentacles, so it almost makes me feel like there's a new opportunity, but you're not sure if it'll make the money that you need, and you're doing something right now that is making the money you need, but it doesn't feel like it's for you anymore. It's such an interesting reading. Let's see what's driving all of this. What's at the root of this for Pisces? Sometimes the card in this position gives us a lot of answers. What's at the root here? Oh, did this give us a lot of answers or what? The Death card and the Magician. You know, you can't make this stuff up. I love when tarot is so like just revealing. So what's at the base of this? What's at the root of this? Major transformation and manifestation. Major. So something you have been, you know, you've been focused on internally is coming through in your external reality, and now you just have to decide if you're going to go for it. But it's like there's this feeling of financial risk or perceived financial risk. And I think that's all that stands in your way here, Pisces, is that there's some opportunity coming in this week that will challenge you in the way of, should I just stop doing this one thing that may be creating some financial stability for me, but I don't feel connected to it anymore. So should I let it go? Or should I continue doing it knowing that ultimately I don't really want to anymore? Or I don't feel like it's for me anymore. You know, this almost feels like within yourself you already know what to do, but your human self is struggling with the idea of the finances. This is a very specific reading, so I hope it's resonating for some of you out there, because it feels like someone really needs this message this week. We'll see what the guidance is going to be, but so far it feels like go for it. Take the risk. Trust yourself. Trust the energy that's guiding you right now, because it feels like this was something that, you know, you've manifested this opportunity because of your desire for transformation in your life. You know, your desire for transformation in your life has allowed this to appear in your external reality. You know, that's what manifestation is that the inner world ends up creating things in the outer world that are in alignment with what's going on within. And so it's like you've manifested something and you're thinking about rejecting it. And so it's intriguing, isn't it? Isn't it interesting when those kind of dynamics happen for us, when the thing that we've been thinking about would be in our highest good, we get the opportunity for it, and then we shy away from it because then we start thinking about all the what ifs. And it feels very financial. So it almost feels like someone is at a place where they need to pursue something different in terms of receiving money for effort, in terms of a job or a career path, and you're feeling guided to shift that, but you're hesitating. Very interesting. Let's see what the past energy is around this. Page of Swords, 10 of Cups, and the Hermit in reverse. So whatever it is that you started doing in the past, it did bring in a lot of emotional fulfillment, and it did reveal to you sort of this new idea, this new path. And I think that you walked on this new path for a long time, but it may have led to some isolation. And at some point you may have been very comfortable with this isolation, and you may have sort of thought, wow, this is perfect for me because I'm fulfilled. I'm doing something that is new and it's very fulfilling to me, and I get to hide out all at once. You know what I mean? And so in some ways it was perfect in the past, but something has shifted here now where you don't want to be withdrawn or isolated anymore. You don't want to feel like you're all alone. Yes, granted, doing something that feels fulfilling, but it's almost like whatever this path is, you're wanting to expand it now so that you're connecting with others in a very real way, where you're not just on your own doing something fulfilling but not connecting with people. And that Page of Swords makes me feel like this at one point was a very big shift for you to go down this path, and you were very curious to learn new things and ideas, and you expanded beyond your further past self into this path. But now you're like, I think I have to shift again. So it's like you're constantly reinventing yourself here, Pisces, and this is the next layer of it right now. Let's see what the upcoming energy is. Five of Pentacles in reverse. One card I love to see in reverse is this one, because when it's in reverse, it means you turn your financial situation around. You're no longer feeling loss and setback. And so your original sort of energy here that says, I'm concerned that if I shift directions, the finances will not be strong and I won't have stability and security in the finances. That seems to not be an issue moving forward. I feel like if anything, it's going to turn your finances around. So whatever it is that you're thinking about shifting into and feeling hesitation because of money, it feels like if anything, it's going to turn the money around so that there won't be these sort of month to month moments where, you know, you're just getting by and you feel sort of unstable and insecure financially, which can bring up a whole host of fears and anxieties, because, you know, there's nothing that sort of triggers us as much as not feeling like we have enough money, right? And so it feels like something about the way you've shifted the inner narrative has transformed this, but now you've just got to catch up with it. I feel like you're on the path of abundance, actually. You're on that pathway right now. But it needs a choice from you at some point to participate in changing something about what you're doing. You know, it almost makes me feel like you might be doing too much because you have a fear of lack. And so you've piled so many things onto your plate. And at first it was very fulfilling, but now you're sort of feeling, I think, like, oh God, I gotta trim some of this because this isn't sustainable. But a part of you is hesitating because you're like, well, if I get rid of these opportunities, then maybe I won't make enough. Like maybe I need to hang on to all of these little, it almost feels like 100 part-time jobs. And, you know, it may not be sustainable. You may be better served by picking one or two of them and giving it all your energy instead of having, you know, 100 different little jobs that you can't really put yourself into because you've got too many things in your day to focus on. If you have like 100 jobs is too many, obviously, but like, let's say you have 4 jobs. How can you do 4 jobs well? It's very difficult, you know, to spread yourself that thin. But you might be thinking, well, the more jobs, the more money, right? You know, the more stability, the more security. And so you might not want to let any of those jobs go. But sort of maybe you need to just have 2 so that you can really focus on them, and then who knows what kind of financial potential you could reach. It's interesting. This seems to be about lack and abundance, and sort of this hoarding of jobs versus focusing on one or two. You know? Very interesting. Let's see, how does Pisces see themselves right now? Yeah. You're afraid of outcomes here. You're sort of fearing the consequences of trimming things out that you're feeling guided to do, to trim. And it's creating this self-imposed restriction where you're not trimming anything. You're not making a decision. You're not and you recognize it. Like if this is resonating for you, you're like, yeah, for sure. I'm totally standing still on this right now because I don't know what to do, or I'm not sure which way to go. Do I keep all of these opportunities, or do I just focus on the ones that really resonate for me? And it feels to me like you focus on the ones that really resonate for you, trusting that they will provide you with more than enough. You know what I mean? But that's going to have to be a decision you make for yourself, from what I'm seeing here, to set yourself free from this standstill. You have to make a decision one way or the other. And it sort of feels like the reading is guiding you to not hesitate, to just to do what you feel intuitively, and you know what feels right within, and not let the fears get the better of you. You know, thinking about things in more of a limitless way than a limited way. Let's see how other people are seeing Pisces right now. What is the outer reflection of Pisces right now? 10 of Pentacles in reverse. Interesting. So 10 of Pentacles in reverse can be a time where we're sort of focused on lack, you know, and feeling that, and it feels like that's coming across, like other people see that in you, that, you know, that you're overly focused on the opportunities surrounding money, and you might be sort of very outwardly fearing financial loss, like that is sort of written on your energy, and it's coming across, like maybe in conversations that you have with people, you even say the words like, oh, I can't hang out tonight because I have so much work to do, and your friends may be saying, oh, take a break, and you're like, I can't, I'm barely getting by, or I can't take a break because tomorrow then I'll be behind on all these other things, because you've got too much on your plate right now. You've got to prioritize something. You have to pick something to prioritize on from what the reading is saying, instead of spreading yourself too thin, Pisces. Prioritize something. There's a negative energy here around wealth and abundance. The lack mentality is wanting to transform here. And I feel like you were able to transform it once, but now it's at a place where you're like, well, if I'm going to be self-reliant, and I'm going to, you know, make this work, I have to have as much income as possible. And the way to do that is to have several different sources of income. And that may have made sense at one point, but I think it led to a lot of isolation. And now you're feeling it. Now you're like, oh man, I need to figure out a system or a schedule to balance all of this, and having a hard time balancing it. That's why you need to prioritize something. That may be really necessary right now, Pisces. Let's see what the hopes and fears are. That's too many. What are the hopes and fears around Pisces at this time? Yeah, the hopes and fears seem to be self-discovery and loss. So there's this feeling around you where you don't want to have regrets, remorse, or any kind of, like, you don't want to let yourself down as you're trying to move forward. There's another page here that is sort of guiding you towards self-discovery, sending you messages about your inner self, you know. And then seeing the 5 of Cups says that there's this narrative that you haven't let go of, maybe because of past trauma. There may have been past trauma around money where you maybe had a period where, you know, it was really hard to make ends meet. And so you're like, I never want to go back there. I don't, and that has become your narrative now, where your narrative surrounds this idea of feeling loss, feeling financial setbacks, and feeling disappointed in your choices as a result. And so the hope here feels like there's a new path ahead with that Page of Wands, but the fear seems to surround sort of this idea of having regrets about making the wrong choice. So it's almost like, you know, you have to prioritize something, but you don't want to end up in a place where you're like, shoot, I gave up the wrong opportunity, and now I'm stuck in loss again. And it's interesting, Pisces, because it makes me feel like your perspective may be that the outer world dictates the inner world, when actually it's the opposite. It's the inner world that dictates the outer world. So as long as your narrative is focused on loss and setbacks and being worried about making the wrong choice, ultimately you'll start to see that reflected back at you. And so, you know, you'll start to find evidence for the fact that maybe you made the wrong choice, which could further your hesitation and indecision. So really trusting yourself here, that you're on a path of discovery and you're discovering yourself in a new way, seems to be part of your hope, but that it could be sort of overshadowed by a fear that you're going to end up in a setback or in a period of loss. Let's see what the potential outcome may be here for Pisces. Okay, we see the Chariot. So I think you're gonna charge ahead when I see the Chariot as an outcome. This is really, really positive energy of sort of moving away from a situation that's outside of alignment with you towards things that really motivate you. So that tells me that you're going to prioritize something, and it's going to feel really good to allow something to come into an ending so that you can be more in balance with yourself. And we're seeing that Ace of Pentacles return on the bottom of the deck. So that almost tells me that you're going to have a new beginning in terms of how you prioritize your work and what you're prioritizing. But I feel like you will focus on one thing here instead of focusing and spreading yourself too thin on multiple things. If you know, it just feels like you're accumulating and hanging on to opportunities because you're like, well, this one makes money, this one makes money, this one makes money. But it's like, do you have time to do all of those things well? I feel like you're spreading yourself too thin. And the guidance here is asking you to prioritize as opposed to spending or spreading yourself too thin. As I cut the deck, we see co-create and time to go, which makes me think that you do need to prioritize what you're working on so that you can have enough energy and time to actually really create something here. And seeing that there's that Between Worlds card peeking through, I feel like you're on the path of choosing. You know, this is a week for you to sort of really prioritize what is going to be the priority. Are you going to focus on this, or this? You have to choose if you're going to be guided by this reading. Let's see what the highest guidance is here for Pisces as we close this reading. Highest guidance. Woo! Happy, happy. I love that. This is telling me that when you're prioritizing, choose what makes you feel the happiest. Choose what's the most fulfilling and give it all of your attention. You know, give it all of your focus. Choose what brings in joy and contentment. And this overwhelming feeling that all is well, let that be the narrative. All is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. And even in this experience, only good will come. And I am safe. There's a nice affirmation from Louise Hayes for you to say to yourself, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. And even from this experience, everything is moving towards my highest good and I am safe. And so it's very interesting. It really feels like right now, it's important for you to find joy in your present moment, whatever is happening, and to be satisfied with what you're choosing to focus on, right? And to make that your priority. It's almost time to sort of give something enough attention that you can really take pride in your accomplishments, because you're giving it the attention and focus it deserves, and you're seeing results from your efforts. And to remember that you don't have to do 100 different things in order to feel secure and stable. I feel like if you focus your attention and energy on one thing, you'll have the time to actually devote to it and do it really well. And that will lead to results from what we're seeing here. And it's interesting. There's almost this sort of message with this happy card of needing to have fun and be playful and get out there again. To not take yourself or this situation too seriously, because that ends up putting you in this self-imposed restriction. That ends up creating hesitation and indecision and an overemphasis on finances that ends up putting you in the lack mentality. So very interesting reading for you this week, Pisces. I'm going to leave it at that. I hope this reading has been helpful, and I look forward to reading for you again very soon. I'm sending you so much love and encouragement. Take care.